What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Cam ATL. Shout out to the DFS squad. Shout out to everybody watching this video right now. Drop a like down below because I already know you're gonna love it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure you comment anything down below in the comment section and enter your name into the $50 giveaway that I do every single week on this channel. Thank you guys for joining me as always. Hit up greenlightdfs.com to join the squad for week 5. Let's get it. Join up before Saturday's college football slate and you will get Saturday's college football included in the NFL slate, as well as Sunday nights, Monday, all that cool shit. All right. Anyways, let's get straight into it. In this video, we are going to full slate breakdown this week 5 NFL slate. We're going to go through each position and talk about all of the guys that we're interested in. All right. I'm not going to take up too much of your time. Let's go ahead and start straight off at quarterback. All right. Starting off at quarterbacks, the guys that stick out to me most, and as you guys know with my full slate breakdown, I don't technically go in order, okay? I just talk about the people I like regardless of what their price is and stuff like that. I just go through a list that I have written down. All right, first guy I want to talk about is Carson Wentz at 6-1 going against the Jets. This is an amazing situation for Carson Wentz going against a Jets team that's just giving it up. I mean, they have not been very good, the secondary wise. We still got to kind of wait and see for the news on Sam Darnold and see if he is going to play, because I believe this game will be a better game in general if he ends up playing. But we will just have to see what happens. But at the end of the day, Carson Wentz is in an amazing position here against the Jets in what should be a game where Philly's able to put up a bunch. The only thing that worries me a little bit here is if the Eagles get up too big, it's going to be a ton of Jordan Howard, Samuels, stuff like that. So they're going to have a bunch of running going on. So the game script isn't technically perfect, because obviously we're hoping Darnold plays. But as of right now, he is still unsure for week 5. So keep an eye on that. If Darnold plays, I will like Wentz even more. But even with that said, at 6-1, I still like Carson Wentz. Next guy that I want to talk about is Matt Ryan going against the Houston Texans. Solid matchup here for Matt Ryan, who week 1 gave up over 24 to Drew Brees. Week 3, over 23 to Phillip Rivers. Atlanta's defense has not been very good. They've been giving up points, forcing Matt Ryan to have to throw to keep the game competitive. He's only had one game this entire season, and that was week 4 against Tennessee, where he only got 19, where he did not hit 20. That only one game this season so far that he didn't hit 20. And now he's going against a Houston secondary that I think he can easily hit that. So at 5'9", safety-wise, he feels like he has a very good floor here. I definitely like Matt Ryan. All right. Another guy I want to talk about on the other side of that game, Deshaun Watson, is a great play if you have the money. Going against the Atlanta Falcons, like I said, our Falcons defense isn't very good. They've given up over 23 Draftkings points the last 2 weeks to guys like Jacoby Brissett and Marcus Mariota. Deshaun Watson is better than both. He hasn't yet had like one of those huge games. He's had a few solid games, 31 week 1, 29 week 3. It's kind of a roller coaster out of Watson so far this year. I mean, week 1, 31, week 2, 12, week 3, 29, week 4, 12. So you would expect another uptick here to about the 30 range against a bad Falcons secondary. I definitely think this is a great situation for Deshaun Watson. I think this game script is going to be a good one. I think this game stays close. I think it's going to be more of a shootout type game. So Watson's definitely in play. Only question is, are you going to need to spend 6-7 on him? Okay, that's the only question. All right. Now, let's talk about a few other guys. Jameis Winston going against the New Orleans Saints. As we know, New Orleans Saints don't have Drew Brees. If they did, I'd be like, oh man, Winston having to play catch up against Drew Brees. Love it. But either way, even with Bridgewater, he still has some amazing targets in Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara to be able to get the ball down the field, which I love both of those dudes as well because they get so much usage in this offense right now. All right. So I absolutely love it. I think Jameis Winston is a great play. I do think this game stays close at home in New Orleans. So I think Winston is a solid play at 6-2, trying to keep up. The last 2 weeks, Winston has been very, very good. He has built his report back up with Mike Evans that we all know was there. 29 and 33 the last 2 weeks. So he has been slinging it. And now in New Orleans, in a dome, I think New Orleans can keep this close, even with Teddy Bridgewater back there, just off the pure talent that they have. And I think it's going to be a great game for Jameis Winston. So he is a solid option as well. All right. A guy that nobody's really going to target, but is a decent option in GPPs, especially if Washington somehow keeps it close. The only question here is that game going to stay close? And I don't think it will. But in GPPs, it's a fine dart throw if you want to go with a guy like Tom Brady. This Washington secondary is horrible. Brady so far this year, they've been blowing guys out. But yeah, Brady still got 28, 24, and 23, week 1 through 3. All right, week 4, he absolutely busted with only 4 against the Buffalo Bills. But 1, 2, and 3 weeks, he got 28, 24, and 23 in situations where it was a blowout. Okay, this Patriots team isn't one of those teams where they blow somebody out and then hit the brake pedal. All right, they like to run the score up on people. All right, so Tom Brady against a bad Washington secondary is a great play in GPPs. Keep in mind, Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott both dominated this Washington secondary for over 28 Draftkings points this season. All right? This game is being played in Washington. All right? So I think Tom Brady is a solid option in GPP. I would not really play him in cash. No reason to really pay 6.5 for him. All right? Next up, let's go ahead and talk about my man, depending on if he ends up getting the start or not. Well, sorry, we'll get to that in a minute. Kirk Cousins against the Giants. All right, Kirk Cousins has not had a great year. We all know they've been running this offense through Dalvin Cook a ton. All right, but maybe this Giants rejuvenated team can actually score some points. All right, this Minnesota defense is solid, but Giants are at home in New York. Okay, you would think Daniel Jones wants to bounce back from the sorry performance he put on last week where he threw a ton of interceptions. All right. So I think that Kirk Cousins is a solid option. And to top it off, Stefon Diggs has been complaining. He is a star in their offense alongside Adam Thielen. And they're going to try to make this dude happy. This dude is kind of starting to want to be traded, and they want to keep him around. So they want to keep this dude happy. So I would expect Kirk Cousins to start airing it out a little bit more. All right? They haven't been doing a great job. They're 2-2 this year. They haven't been done a great job with balancing things out. All right? It has been super run heavy. Against this Giants team, you would think they're not going to really need to have to throw it a whole bunch. But in GPPs, it's interesting because, like I said, behind the scenes, you've got receivers who are pissed off not getting targeted because they're not throwing the ball at all. Maybe this is a game where Cousins goes out and slings it a bunch, and they don't use their run game as much as we would expect. Maybe when they get up, they start running it a whole bunch, and maybe they happen to get it up with Cousins to Diggs a lot to just keep their star wide receiver happy, you know? So that's my take on him. Outside of that, obviously, I talked about before, I do like Dak Prescott. I think this game is going to be a very competitive back-and-forth game. I'm definitely on Dak still. Love him at 6K. I think he's a very good option. Already talked about him in the first look, and I put him in the first look. So I really talked about that. Who else have I not really spoken about this week? In GPPs, Teddy Bridgewater is an okay option going against this Tampa Bay secondary. Daniel Jones went for almost 40. All right, Bridgewater's nowhere near Daniel Jones, but maybe he can possibly get up to 20. He got 16 at Seattle week 3. Maybe possibly he can get to 20. I mean, he's got some amazing weapons around him, so let's hope. All right, fingers crossed, but at 5'2", he's a decent play in GPPs that nobody's really going to be on. All right, outside of that, let's go ahead and go to running backs. Those are pretty much the guys that I'm really interested in playing this week. All right, now, at running back, so there's some new information that I have for you guys that kind of makes me get all over Christian McCaffrey and not want to get off, okay? Now, the weather in Carolina is going to be a rainy one, okay? There is expected to be rain in this game, majority of this game. What does that mean? That means that the game plan is going to switch to a very run-heavy game plan on both sides of this ball. So Christian McCaffrey and Leonard Fournette are already the two most heaviest used running backs in the entire league. And now they're going into a situation where it's going to be very, very run-friendly environment. Like I said, it's going to be raining this entire game. Okay, so that means Christian McCaffrey is going to have the ball in his hands even more than he has recently. All right, and the passes that they do make, you'd think they want to do just little tiny dump-offs because the rain is bad for trying to receive the ball. So like I said, I think Leonard Fournette and Christian McCaffrey are amazing plays. With that said, they're definitely in play. All right. Now, Let's go ahead and keep it going. Next up, Ezekiel Elliott at 8-3 going against Green Bay. Love Zeke in this matchup, man. Green Bay has been giving it up to the run. Their secondary has been fine. They've been okay. They gave up 31 to Dalvin Cook week 2, 29 to Phillip Lindsay, and 32 to Jordan Howard. Imagine what a guy like Ezekiel Elliott could do. I would put Zeke more in the Dalvin Cook range, okay? I mean, he's right above Dalvin Cook slightly. And Phillip Lindsay and Jordan Howard are nowhere near, and they still got 30 DraftKings points and up. Ezekiel Elliott is an amazing play at 8-3. Absolutely love that dude. Also, Alvin Kamara and Dalvin Cook. And David Johnson, all right? All these running backs you see on the screen, outside of Saquon, who's not going to play. At least he's doubtful as now. I don't expect him to play. Outside of Saquon on the screen right now, David Johnson, Ezekiel Elliott, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, and Christian McCaffrey are all amazing plays. Okay? The thing that I've noticed on this slate is we have a ton of running backs that we want. So I am leaning to getting the running backs I want. Regardless of price, I want the guys that I want, the guys who are going to get a ton of run. All these guys should see a ton of touches in their games, and I want the best of the best, okay? And when it comes to running backs, you want the guys who get the most touches possible. So I'm honestly very close to locking Christian McCaffrey at 8-7. And another guy that benefits from that, I talked to him about him just a second ago, Leonard Fournette at 6-4 is an amazing option against this Carolina defense who gave up over 18 to David Johnson week 3. I definitely like Leonard Fournette here. He just broke out for 225 rushing yards on 29 carries last week. He's coming in confident, and this is a game, like I said, it's going to be rainy, so they are going to utilize the run a ton, and they already do. So Fournette's going to get a ton of touches. So Fournette and McCaffrey are awesome just off weather-wise and touches in general, and then all these guys in the middle are in play as well. So obviously, you want two very good running backs at your running back spot, and then you want a running back at flex, to be completely real. No reason to try to spend down and save at running back this week because there's not many great options, okay? We're going to talk about some of the decent options. LeVeon Bell is another guy that I like at 6-8, but in GPP only. There's no reason to go that route when you've got these super studs above him. But LeVeon, I do like his price at 6-8, all right? But now that I've talked about all the super studs that I love, let's go ahead and talk about some of the maybe lower-owned guys, all right? One guy that I've got a little attention on is Joe Mixon going against Arizona. He really hasn't done much this season. His carries have upticked week 3 and week 4, though, from the 6 carries week 1, 11 carries week 2, and then it went up to 15 and then 15 again. He's been very effective with those touches that he's gotten, and he's been getting touches in the pass game, which is good. He just hasn't really done much with it. All right? That's the only thing that bothers me there. I don't like the production that he's had with it. But Joe Mixon at 6-1, that's still a very cheap price. All right, another guy that I like is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is a guy that gets a ton of carries, man. He got 27 carries last week. He's a guy that gets a ton of touches. Week 1, Le'Veon Bell went for 23. Week 2, Saquon went for 25. Joe Mixon even got 17 against this Buffalo D. I think Derrick Henry and the amount of touches that he gets is a great play at running back this week. All right. Who else do I want to talk about? There's really not that many other people. Let's go ahead and talk about Phillip Lindsay. I mentioned him earlier. At 4-9, Phillip Lindsay's going against the Chargers team that gave up over 28 to Marlon Mack week 1 and then 16 to Johnson week 2. I definitely think that Phillip Lindsay could be a sneaky, cheap running back this week. But like I said, really no reason to spend down. And let's just go to receivers, all right? Because it's pretty obvious you want the best running backs you can get, and then you want to find the value at receiver where you can, all right? And we're going to talk about that. Now, first value receiver I want to talk about. Let's go ahead and pull that up right now. Khalil Tate. I love Tate here in this one. John Ross is going to miss. He was put on the IR. So Tate is going to benefit big time. This is my favorite cheap play of the weekend at 3-5. Absolutely love Khalil Tate on this slate. He is a cheap guy that can be played for sure with no John Ross. Love Tate. Another guy I want to talk about is Calvin Ridley, especially if you have a line with Matt Ryan. I talked about liking Matt Ryan. I think this game's going to be a shootout. It's a good one to get exposure to. Calvin Ridley is a solid option here, okay? He hasn't had, he had one very good game. Week 1 and week 2, 16 and 27, very solid performances. The last 2 weeks, though, have been real down performances where Matt Ryan's just been going to Austin Hooper, and that's it, all right? But I expect a bounce-back game here, going against a team that gave up over 20 DraftKings points to Ted Ginn Jr. week 1. So I can see Calvin Ridley having a good game at 4-9, all right? Another guy that I want to talk about, obviously I mentioned him in the first look, Alshon Jeffery, all right? Especially if you got Carson Wentz, Jeffrey's definitely the guy that I want to pair along with him. In a great spot here. Deshaun Jackson's still out. Absolutely love Alshon Jeffery. All right. Now, next cheap guy so let's talk about Larry Fitzgerald real quick. Larry Fitzgerald is without Christian Kirk. All right. He does not have Christian Kirk anymore. All right. Demary Bird is also out. So they're missing 2 receivers on this Cardinals offense. All right. So Larry Fitzgerald, Keyshawn Johnson, and Trent Sherfield are going to be the wide receivers playing for Arizona. Larry Fitzgerald is going to get a ton of targets in this game. Love my boy Larry Fitzgerald at 6K. All right. Now, I already talked about him in my first look, but honestly, I'm still feeling the same way. Michael Thomas at 6'6" is too cheap. He does not belong at 6'6", even with Teddy Bridgewater throwing him the ball. He gets targeted a ton, okay? Targeted a ton, all right? He has still been super, super solid, even without Breeze. He only has 1 touchdown this season, all right? The performances he's been putting up, he's been in the 18 to 20 range, and that's without bringing in a touchdown. Bring in a touchdown, and he smashes value at 6'6". So let's pray for a touchdown here against Vernon Hargreaves of Tampa Bay, the matchup this weekend. I think he can do it for sure, and at 6'6", I definitely love him. Julio Jones is another guy. Obviously, if you have Matt Ryan, he is a solid play, but he is expensive, and you're probably not going to have the money for that, seeing that we want our running backs this week. Will Fuller at 4.5 is another very good option here for Houston at 4.5. He is just fairly cheap. He hasn't had his huge game yet this season, but we know he is the downfield threat for my boy Watson. So especially if you're playing a Watson line, pair him up with Will Fuller as a cheap option to pair him with. This Atlanta secondary has been giving it up, man. They gave up over 13 to Thielen, which isn't that crazy, but the 28 to Nelson Aguilar week 2 is high. And then week 4, over 24 to A.J. Brown. So Will Fuller's a very solid option. Absolutely love him. All right. Let's see who else we want to talk about. I'm trying to really focus on, in this final look, focus on the guys who are well priced. And guys in GPP, I already talked about this before. All right. I already talked about this. This dude is pissed off. He's damn near wanting to trade. Okay. He's pissed off he's not getting targets, and this is their start. I think they will feed him. Okay, I'm expecting them to feed him here. I absolutely love Stefon Diggs in GPP. We know the type of upside he has, especially against Janoris Jenkins, who has had huge problems this season. All right. Now, let's go ahead and talk about who else do I want to bring up real quick. Okay, another Falcons receiver, actually. Mohamed Sanu is a great price as well at 4.2. Instead of really, if you want to go Sanu, that's completely fine. He got a ton of targets last week, got targeted 12 times in this past game. I can see him blowing up and having a great game, man, because Houston's been struggling to wide receiver threes all season long, giving up over 10 to Smith, over 18 to Clark, and then over 10 to Wright. Mohamed Sanu is a great option at only 4.2. And when it comes to cheap receivers, that's really where I'm at. Let's just talk about period. When it comes to matchup-wise in general, Adam Thielen and Stefon Diggs probably have the best matchups going against that Giants secondary. It's horrible. Alshon Jeffery's in an amazing position. Michael Thomas, I already talked about, in a great spot. Julio Jones in the Atlanta receivers. Will Fuller absolutely love. And then Jamison Crowder if Darnold is back, and even if Darnold's not back at 4-3, a guy who's probably going to get a ton of targets in an offense that's going to want to keep up with Philly, or at least attempt to try to get it closer to Philly. I absolutely love him. All right, let's go ahead and move on to tight ends. All right, so at the tight end position this week, the main thing that I'm looking at is the guys who have just been balling up here. Obviously, most likely spending up at running backs like we talked about with receiver. Same with tight end. We're probably going to have to get a middle-of-the-pack, low-end tight end. All right? With that being said, let's go ahead and cover those guys. All right? So, first and foremost, Tyler Eifert, I talked about in the first look. I absolutely love him against this Arizona defense. All right, absolutely love them. They've been giving it up to tight ends this season, 28, 25, and 18 the last 3 weeks. Absolutely ridiculous. Tyler Eifert, I can see him getting in the end zone pretty easily, getting you about 10, and at 3-3, I will take that. All right. Outside of Tyler Eifert, we have guys like Jared Cook against Tampa Bay as a solid option at a cheap price. A guy I wanted to mention at only 2.8, Noah Fant. Going against this Chargers D, week 3, they gave up over 22 to Atkins, who's not very good. Fant has been pretty consistent this year. 4, 7, 5, and 11 in his DK points this season. He's not getting targeted a whole bunch, but he's right around 5 targets every game. If he gets into the end zone, he's going to return value easily at 2.8. I think that he's a solid spend down as well. Dawson Knox. Knox ended up coming out of nowhere and getting him a touchdown last week. He looked like he was one of the favored targets once the new quarterback came in there. So Knox is a great option here. This Tennessee defense just gave up 25 DraftKings points to Austin Hooper. I think Knox is another cheap guy that you can go with at 3-1. And now let's say you have the money to spend for tight ends. My favorite tight ends in general are guys like Austin Hooper at 4-5 going against Houston. This dude's been raking. 16, 7, 24, 25 the last 4 weeks. He's been getting targeted a ton in this offense. 11 targets last week. 9 targets week 1. 6 and 7 targets week 2 and 3. He's been getting targeted very, very well. And like I said, this should be a competitive game. Definitely love Austin Hooper. Another guy I like is Evan Engram at 5'8". Minnesota's defense is very, very good, but if you're going to attack them anyway, I would expect you to attack them kind of with your tight end. Evan Engram is a very athletic, very talented tight end who kind of was a letdown last week by only getting 9 points. Expected a lot more against a bad Washington defense. Here going against a Minnesota defense that gave up over 16 to Hooper week 1 and then gave up a massive 30 DraftKings points to Waller week 3. Evan Ingram's a guy who can put up a ton of points, and in GPP, I like him at 5'8". He is expensive, though. That's the only issue there with him. Outside of that, my main focus here, like I said, guys, and through this whole video that I want to make clear, is that I am most interested in getting the running backs that I want first. That is my first priority, figuring out which of these studs I really, really want, and then going from there, plugging in my quarterback, plugging in the receivers that I can afford, and then playing from there. But you want to get your running backs right this week. You want to spend up on them because there's not amazing value at running back where there is some okay value at the other positions. All right, and that's just the way I see this slate playing out. All right, now let's talk about defenses real quick, and then I'll let y'all go and wish you good well. Greenlightdfs.com. Join the squad. Let's get it. Now, obviously, at the very top, this Patriots defense going against this rookie quarterback for Washington. We don't know 100% if he's going to start again, if Haskins is going to start again or not, but he was a turnover machine. He was just plain and simple not ready to be thrown in there yet. And I think this Patriots D is really going to take advantage of that. They've been ridiculous. 10, 37, 11, and 25. At 4-3, imagine if you know you're going to get 10 plus out of a guy 4-3, you're damn happy with it. And if you also know you have the upside of a 37, imagine the Patriots just being a player option. 4-3 is a very good value for the type of points that they have the potential of putting up in Washington this weekend. So the Patriots D is great at 4-3. I can't hate on it at all. Only question is, are you going to have the money? I think they're a fantastic play, though. Next defense, obviously, the Bears against Oakland. Oakland's offense has really been struggling this year. Outside of Waller, they've really had a tough time. This is in Oakland, but this Bears defense is really, 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 really solid. They haven't been putting up the fantasy points like the Patriots, but 21-17 the last 2 weeks. They've really been getting it going. So this Bears defense at 3-8, really, really love them. I think the Titans defense against Buffalo is a solid option this week at 3,000. And then obviously the best spend down option of the week, in my opinion, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 2-2 going against Teddy Bridgewater. Yes, I love Kamara. Yes, I love Michael Thomas. But I think that this Buccaneers defense, who has done a fantastic job at creating turnovers. I mean, they're only 2-2, and they've gotten 12, 9, 8, and 15. Okay? If you're telling me if I could get a player at 2-2 that hasn't gotten under 8 all season and is pretty damn sure of getting about an 8 to 10 here in this matchup against New Orleans, just off the turnovers that they should get from Bridgewater, hell yeah, I'll take it. At 2-2, Buccaneers are my favorite spend down defense. And that's about it, man. I'm leaning towards, if I have the money, I really want the Patriots for that upside potential and that safety against Washington, especially if Haskins is playing again. I sure as hell want to pick on the young guy. Bears, Titans, and Buccaneers are really the guys that I'm really sticking to for defense this week. And that's it, y'all. Good luck, everybody. Greenlightdfs.com. Join the squad, man. Let's kill it. Drop a like down below if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel, and let's get this money, man. Good luck, everybody. I hope you kill it. Have an amazing weekend, and I will see you.